Long before or kings carved laws into stone, there was a quiet revolution. In the land we now call Mesopotamia, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, humanity shifted from wanderers to settlers. It began after the Ice Age, as the earth warmed and wild grains flourished across fertile plains. Hunter-gatherers, once forever moving, noticed something new: food that stayed. In places like Jericho and Catalyuk, they lingered. They built mud huts. They planted seeds. They stayed, and in staying, they changed the world. They domesticated animals. Wild aurochs became cattle. Goats were tamed, and sheep gave not just meat, but wool. The first farms were born. Villages grew, and for the first time, people had more than they needed, a surplus. That surplus became trade. Trade became community. Community became cities. With settled life came dreams. Temples were built to unknown gods. Tools were refined. Pottery was invented. And irrigation turned barren land into gardens. The world's first civilizations were quietly taking root. Not in blood, not in war, but in grain, clay, and belief. As small villages, life in Mesopotamia grew more complex. Around 4000 BCE, in places like Eridu, Ur, and Uruk, something revolutionary was happening: the birth of true civilization. At the heart of these cities were temples dedicated to gods who controlled the forces of nature: rain, rivers, harvests, and life itself. These temples weren't just religious sites. They were storehouses, distribution centers, and power hubs. Priests rose in status. Leadership was no longer shared. It was claimed. Over time, priest kings emerged. They oversaw irrigation, canals, crop storage, and rituals. They were intermediaries between the people and the gods. But as cities grew, so did the challenge of management. Counting offerings, organizing labor, tracking taxes, all required a new skill. And so, writing was born from simple clay tokens. Came pictographs. A picture of a sheep meant a sheep. But soon, symbols evolved to represent sounds, then words. Cuneiform, wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay, became the world's first written language. The Sumerians, the people of this early civilization, became masters of invention. They built ziggurats, massive temple platforms that soared into the sky. They crafted bronze tools and weapons. They recorded laws, stories, prayers, and medicine on clay tablets. City after city rose, each with its own king, god, and pride. But with pride came rivalry. Soon, peace gave way to ambition. And the age of kings began. As the Sumerians went in power, so too did their conflicts. Water, land, trade, each became a reason for war. Armies marched, fortifications rose. Into this chaos stepped a man whose ambition would reshape history: Sargon of Akkad, born of humble origins, perhaps a servant, perhaps a foundling. Sargon rose through the ranks to become a cupbearer to the king of Kish, but he wanted more. Around 2334 BCE, Sargon seized power, defeated rival kings, and united the scattered city-states into the world's first empire. His capital, Akkad, became the beating heart of this new superpower. Sargon placed loyal governors in conquered cities, standardized weights and measures, and established the first professional army. His empire stretched from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. But empires are heavy things to hold. After Sargon, his descendants struggled to keep control. Revolts flared, economies strained. Enemies at the borders grew bolder. Eventually, the Akkadian Empire crumbled, torn by rebellion and weakened by drought and overextension. Yet, the dream of empire would not die. It had been imagined, and now it could be repeated. After centuries and shifting powers, a new city rose to claim greatness: Babylon. At first, it was just another city along the Euphrates River, but under a brilliant king named Hammurabi, Babylon would become the heart of a unified Mesopotamia. Hammurabi ruled from 1792 BCE. He was not only a conqueror, but a master strategist. While building alliances and strengthening his economy, he waited. Then, one by one, he defeated his rivals, Larsa, Mari, Ashur, and brought nearly all of Mesopotamia under his control. Yet, Hammurabi is remembered for more than war. He became the father of law, creating the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest legal systems in the world, into a towering stone stele. The code proclaimed justice for rich and poor alike, though harsh and often unequal by modern standards. It was revolutionary for its time. Babylon flourished. Temples rose. Canals were expanded. Scholars recorded medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. Merchants traded goods as far as the Indus Valley. The city grew into a vibrant center of learning and power. But, like all golden ages, it would not last forever. After Hammurabi's death, his successors struggled to maintain order. Revolts erupted. New enemies appeared. The empire shrank. Yet Babylon, the city itself, endured, not just in brick and stone, but in memory. After the fall of old Babylonian empires, the land between the rivers broke into fragments. Cities quarreled. Mountains, tribes, like the Gusians, raided and ruled, but without vision. Chaos reigned, and for nearly a century, Mesopotamia drifted. Then came a renaissance in the southern city of Lagash. A humble ruler named Gudea ushered in a cultural rebirth. He wasn't a conqueror. He didn't build an empire, but he restored temples, honored the gods, and filled his city with elegant statues carved from exotic stone. Peace returned, and with it, beauty. But it was in Ur that the true resurgence came. Around 2112 BCE, Ur-Nammu, founder of the third dynasty of Ur, reunited much of Mesopotamia. Unlike the warlords before him, he ruled as a builder and a lawgiver. His Code of Ur-Nammu predates Hammurabi's by 300 years. He and his son Shulgi built vast ziggurats, including the famous one in your towering step pyramid, meant to bridge earth and heaven. Shulgi reformed education, calendars, and road systems. He even claimed to run over 100 miles in a day between temples, a symbol of divine stamina. Under their leadership, Sumerian language, literature, and worship flourished. Temples hummed with ritual. Scribes recorded myths, hymns, and epics. It was a golden moment, but the drought returned. Soil grew salty. Enemies stirred again. Rebellion spread. And soon the Renaissance ended as all others before it had. In the rugged hill Mesopotamia, a new power was rising, one forged not in temples or markets, but on the battlefield. The Assyrians, once humble traders from the city of Ashur, transformed themselves into the most feared empire the world had yet known. By the 9th century BCE, Assyrian kings had perfected the art of war. Their armies were ruthless, organized, and terrifyingly advanced. They wielded iron weapons, deployed chariots, archers, cavalry, and elite siege engineers. Cities that resisted them were burned, their people relocated or executed, their names wiped from memory. But the Assyrians weren't just conquerors. They were administrators. Provinces were created. Governors appointed. Roads linked cities. Couriers sped messages across vast lands. The empire stretched from Egypt to Iran, the largest the world had ever seen. Kings like Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, and Sennacherib expanded and reorganized this machine. Gosh, but it was Ashurbanipal, the scholar king, who left a more enduring legacy. Collected the first great library in Nineveh, preserving thousands of tablets, including the Epic of Gilgamesh. And yet, despite their strength, The Assyrians sowed the seeds of their own destruction. Brutality breeds resentment. Revolts simmered beneath the surface. When Babylon, long oppressed by Assyrian hands, allied with the Medes, the end came swiftly. In 612 BCE, Nineveh fell. Its palaces burned. Its kings were gone. And the city that ruled with terror was buried beneath its own ashes. Its own ashes. When the mighty Assyrians, the world did not go quiet. From the southern plains of Mesopotamia, a new ruler emerged, a Chaldean prince named Nabopolassar. He claimed Babylon's independence, formed an alliance with the Medes, and together they crushed Nineveh. Thus began the Neo-Babylonian Empire, and its golden prince was Nebuchadnezzar II, ruling from 605 to 562 BCE. Nebuchadnezzar turned Babylon into the most magnificent city the ancient world had ever seen. He built towering walls, broad processional avenues, vast palaces, and the awe-inspiring Etemenanki ziggurat, believed to inspire the tale of the Tower of Babel. Legend says he built the Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the world, for his queen who missed her mountainous homeland. Whether myth or truth, the gardens symbolized Babylon's power and poetry. But Nebuchadnezzar was not just a builder. He was a warrior. He defeated Egypt, besieged Jerusalem, and exiled its people. The echoes of his campaigns are found in the Bible, in weeping psalms, and shattered temples. Under his reign, Babylon became a cultural beacon. Astronomy, mathematics, literature, and religion all flourished. Priests studied the stars. Scribes copied epics. Markets thrived under temple towers. But after Nebuchadnezzar's death, the dynasty weakened. Kings feuded. Priests grew angry. And far to the east, a new storm gathered. The Persians under Cyrus the Great in 539 BCE. Babylon fell, not with fire, but with a whisper. The gates opened. Cyrus entered peacefully. Babylon, still majestic, became a province in a new world. Empire. Empire. Though the empires of kings vanished and cities turned to dust, Mesopotamia's legacy endured, etched into stone, whispered through myths, and woven into the very roots of civilization. The Persians ruled after the Babylonians, but they preserved what had come before. Babylon remained a center of learning and worship. Even Alexander the Great, centuries later, stood in awe of the city, dreaming of making it his eastern capital, before death took him too soon. And while the world moved on to Rome, to Byzantium, to the Islamic Golden Age, the echoes of Mesopotamia never fully faded. Here, in this land between rivers, writing was born. Law was written. Kings ruled by divine mandate. Akkadians were planned, and heavens mapped. Stories like Gilgamesh and laws like Hammurabi's shaped human consciousness. Even today, the 60-minute hour, the 360-degree circle, and the names of distant stars come from Mesopotamian minds. They were the first to ask the questions we still ask. Who are we? Why are we here? What lies beyond the stars? Though the rivers shifted and empires vanished, spirit of Mesopotamia, its innovation, its order, storytelling became the foundation on which much of our world now stands. Not all stories end in ruin. Some continue, whispers in time, in time.